station. Don't speak to control.
Okay, we're going to resume business here. I want to invite everyone to find a seat, and to our guests, I hope that you found some refreshments at the back of the room there, and that you're very comfortable. Welcome to the Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development Committee. For the benefit of committee members, I will be specific and welcome Kevin McKay, the co-chair of the Land Claims Agreement Coalition and chairperson of the Nisga'a government, who is accompanied today by legal counsel Jim Aldridge. Thank you. Kathy Tatangi, co-chair of the Land Claims Agreements Coalition and president of the Nunavut Tungavik Incorporation, accompanied by James Ariak, the CEO of Executive Services. And then Ruth Massey is here, Grand Chief of the Council of Yukon First Nations, and Eric Fairclough, Chief of the Little Salmon Carmacks First Nation. Warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for finding time in your busy week while you're in town to join us. And I'm happy to let you know that our proceedings today are being televised so that many others are joining us outside of the room, and I welcome them as well.
Point of order?
Mr. Angus.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to interrupt this because this is going to be a very, very good meeting. But I did want to make my colleagues aware I filed a motion in response to the emergency crisis that's been declared in Anishinaabe Treaty 9 territory. I think it's very important as a committee that we show leadership here and invite the leaders to meet with us. At one day, I wouldn't want to spring this on people normally, but I think in light of a crisis of this magnitude, it sends a real sense of respect that we want to talk with the community leaders and just offer some out of this meeting some solutions that we could bring forward to the government. So I'd like to put that on record. We can't vote on it today because we should be listening to our guests, but we will have to make a decision on this very soon if we're going to be seen to be responsive.
Charlie, thank you for bringing that. We all share the concern of that grave situation. Appreciate it. Okay, well, I welcome you to proceed with your presentation how you see fit, and we'd like you to talk for about 20 minutes if you're able to. It can be shorter or longer as you see fit, and then we'll fill the remaining time in the hour, about 35 minutes or so, with questions from the committee members. Okay, thank you very much.
Chair, s'il vous plaît, piyaring itiartugut kisene wiwititut. Forgive us, the brochures are not in French, but they're on the Land Claims Coalition. But mind you, a lot of Inuit are trilingual, French, English, and Inuktitut. My presentation to you, thank you for inviting us. To begin, I'd like to thank each of you for listening to us on behalf of the Land Claims Coalition. I am Kathy Tatangi, and I'm the co-chair and president of Nunavut Tungavik, Inc. I have been in the Inuit leadership for over 30 years. I also sit on the International Inuit Circumpolar Conference with members from Russia, Greenland, Samis, and Canada, and Alaska. I'm here with Kevin McKay, chairperson of the Nisga'a Lisms government, and my fellow co-chair from the coalition. As you know, along with me is Grand Chief Ruth Massey from the Council for Yukon First Nations, Chief Eric Fairclough from Little Salmon Carmacks First Nation, and in our back is Dan Crystal, one of the chief from Yukon. My CEO, James Ariak, and Jim Aldridge. The coalition represents Aboriginal parties who have signed 24 modern agreements, also called comprehensive land claim agreements. Some of us have signed more than one agreement because we have claims in other jurisdictions. We include Inuit organizations, First Nations, and Métis from Labrador to British Columbia. We represent all Aboriginal people that have signed modern treaties. We are an informal coalition. We're not incorporated, and we operate by consensus and unity. This coalition was formed in 2003 because we share many problems relating to the implementation of our modern treaties. To put it in a nutshell, governments have not been meeting their obligations under those treaties. I will give you a brief overview of modern treaties since many of you are new to this committee and may not be familiar with them. Modern treaties or land claims agreement are meant to deal with the fact that Aboriginal people were living on this continent before European settlers began arriving and used and owned the land and had our own social control. In 1763, King George III recognized we were the first owners of North America and issued a royal proclamation. It is said our lands had to be respected, and non-Aboriginal people could not settle on them unless the Crown had first made a treaty with us. That means, those of you that are listening, we are all treaty people, including yourself. The old treaties, called historic treaties and numbered treaties, flowed from the Royal Proclamation. Sadly, the proclamation was not always followed as it should have been. In the 20th century, after treaties were signed in the Mackenzie Valley and Northern Ontario from 1921 to 1930, treaty making came to an end. Indeed, from 1927 until 1951, it was actually illegal to raise money to pursue an Aboriginal land claim. It was not until 1973, when our friends the Nisga'a went to the Supreme Court, that the Canadian government began to rethink and in the same year recognize Aboriginal rights and title had to be dealt with. Inuit have never been part of the old treaty-making process, but we joined the modern process immediately with the hope that our lives would become comparable to other Canadians. We all want what you have: better cost of living, better lives. That's what we had expected. But today we can see on the media, our people, the Inuit, are collecting garbage for food in Canada. That's a fact, and that's a reality. It is amazing that the first modern treaty, the James Bay and Northern Quebec, were signed in 1975, 2 years after 1973. It was very fast how these treaties were negotiated. Later agreements have taken decades. Inuit in Nunavut start documenting our land use. Almost every hunter in Nunavut was interviewed, and in 1976, the government published a 3-volume atlas which documented our land use. In the first preamble of our agreement with Canada, we were insistent that we hold sovereignty for Canada, and it is in our agreement. It took another 18 years to negotiate the Nunavut Agreement. I emphasize that so you will understand the importance it had for us. We ratified that agreement and signed it in 1993. That meant when we did so, we gave up rights for all time, surrendered, extinguished our rights, including those of our unborn children throughout Nunavut, with the hope that a better future would be present for them. It is an agreement that is recognized and affirmed in Section 35 of the Constitution Act. It is an agreement that must be carried out that sustains the honor of the Crown, the mission statement of our organization, Inuit economic, social, and cultural well-being through the implementation of the Nunavut Land Claims Agreement. A lot of people are confused about Nunavut. The Nunavut public government is for everyone, but the organization that I represent, NTI Nunavut Tungavik, represents only Inuit. When we have our elections, only Inuit can vote for my position. I have been the president for over 16 years. Sadly, much that needed to be done under our agreement was not done. Of course, parts of the agreement were carried out. Our compensation money was paid. We received title to Inuit-owned lands, and most importantly, a government of Nunavut was established in 1999. That was a major accomplishment. But our agreement is 280 pages long. It carries out 42 articles, and many of those articles were not carried out. I'll give you one example. Our agreement provided for arbitration in an event of a dispute. Otherwise, we could not resolve it. But there was a catch. Both NTI and the federal government had to agree in advance before any item went to arbitration. From 1993 to 2006, we attempted to refer 17 disputes with the federal government. In every case, the government of Canada refused arbitration. So if you can't resolve disputes in any other way, you go to court. In 2006, we began a lawsuit of over 16 breaches of our agreement. The 17 cases of the federal government refusing to arbitrate was one of the 16 breaches. It took us until May of last year, that is almost 9 years, after some years of procedural wrangling, discovery, and one victorious summary judgment, the main trial was due to begin. At that point, the federal government made an out-of-court settlement because we were able to prove in court that the government, by not implementing those articles, was saving money. Avoiding implementation does not save money. Our out-of-court settlement involved the federal government paying NTI $255 million. We can only hope that we have turned the corner. All we look for is that our treaties are with the Crown and involve the whole of government, that the government must implement our treaties in a way which meets their broad objectives, that government officials responsible for implementation must be sufficiently senior to make the decisions required to implement our agreements, that an independent agency is needed to monitor the implementation of our agreement, and this agency should report directly to Parliament. And because as the committee, we don't want you groping around, the Land Claims Coalition produced a report 2008 on how to implement modern-day treaties, and it was accepted by the Senate, and we would advise you to do the same. Thank you for letting me sit here. Very honored.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Are there more to present? Thank you very much, Mr. McKay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to the members of the committee. My name is Kevin McKay. I'm the Executive Chairperson of Nisga'a government. Nisga'a Nation, as some of you may or may not know, are located in northwestern British Columbia, just south of the Alaskan Panhandle. We are very proud to be BC's first modern treaty. For your information, on May the 11th of this year, we will be celebrating the 16th anniversary of the effective date of the Nisga'a Final Agreement. Mr. Chair, we are, of course, pleased to appear before you today on behalf of the Land Claims Agreement Coalition. We describe ourselves as a coalition, as we are just that. This was a deliberate decision that was taken when we were first formed in 2003. Further to that, we are not a separate political or corporate body. We are not another national organization. The AFN, the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples, and ITK continue as umbrella Aboriginal organizations, and our members of the coalition may be affiliated with one or other. The coalition is not a similar organization. Following our 2003 conference, it was decided to work together, that we would work together on modern treaty implementation issues. Our principles, as described by Co-Chair Tautongi, we put those points forward in 2003 against the background of frustration and disappointment with the way our agreements were being implemented. For your information, we were close to agreement with the former Liberal government of Prime Minister Martin in December of 2005, when, as we all know, the writ was dropped and discussions ended. In 2008, the Senate Standing Committee on Aboriginal Peoples issued a report entitled Honoring the Spirit of Modern Treaties, Closing the Loopholes, in which it agreed with most of our suggestions. And we would respectfully recommend that the members of the committee refer to that important document. In partial response to these concerns and our demand for the adoption of a federal implementation policy in accordance with our 4 principles, the previous government, after 12 years of continuous lobbying by the LCAC, took some steps forward with the adoption of the Cabinet Directive on Federal Approach to Modern Treaty Implementation. The directive outlined a, quote, whole of government, end quote, approach to implementation. The LCAC has committed to working with Indigenous Affairs officials to further develop the federal processes and approaches that we are told should improve the federal system of implementation. The Cabinet Directive is generally limited to establishing processes which, while constructive, are focused on holding the various federal departments to account. In our view, there are still steps needed to ensure effective and efficient treaty implementation. These include a public policy, an external oversight body, identification of the broad objectives of modern treaties within the context of the new relationships, and measurement of progress against these modern treaty objectives, rather than a unilateral list of narrow legal obligations. Additionally, the previous government also took a significant step that, in our view, undermines the success of many modern treaties by adopting, quote, Canada's fiscal approach for self-government arrangements, end quote, in July of 2015. This fiscal approach purports to be an important step in making funding processes transparent. However, despite certain limited engagement with members of the LCAC, questions and concerns of coalition members were ignored or deferred. and the new approach was then produced and adopted behind closed doors with no meaning consultation as to its contents. The result is a policy that is in direct contradiction to the solemn promises contained in many of our treaties. It is a policy that seems based upon the idea that Indian Act band funding is the appropriate foundation for Aboriginal self-government. This is the opposite of the nation-to-nation approach to which your government has committed itself. Assurances the treaties will nonetheless be complied with have not been accompanied with any detailed description about how this can be accomplished. With the election of Prime Minister Trudeau in 2015, we have been pleased to see the current federal government has an overarching goal for the renewal of the relationship between Canada and Indigenous peoples as a relationship based on recognition, rights, respect, cooperation, and partnership. Our modern treaties were entered into precisely upon this understanding. They represent a reconciliation of our rights with the interests of the Crown and require cooperation and partnership to be implemented. Consistent with the mandate letter for the Department of Indigenous Affairs, we wrote to the Minister of Indigenous Affairs in November of 2015, calling upon the Honourable Minister to, number one, continue to engage with the LCAC members on the development of a new modern treaty implementation policy intended to replace current federal operational practices and policies which are inconsistent with the terms of our constitutionally protected agreements. Number two, continue the mandate of the LCAC-INAC Working Group to collaborate on the implementation and improvement of the Federal Cabinet Directive. Number three, immediately suspend the previous government's fiscal approach as it is a policy developed without consideration for and is incompatible with the terms of our agreements. Number four, revisit existing negotiation mandates and conclude current fiscal renewal and other financial capacity building negotiations in an expedited manner and in accordance with our agreements. And finally, number five, to engage with our members in a meaningful, collaborative manner to develop a proper approach to fiscal relationships between the parties that is based on the principles of the agreements. We met with the Minister on December the 7th, 2015, in discussions which were brief but signaled a promising opportunity for renewal and change. Unfortunately, we must report to the committee that certain vestiges of the old top-down approach continue to manifest themselves in the federal bureaucracy in a manner, in our respectful view, that is contrary to the Government of Canada's commitment to a nation-to-nation relationship. However, notwithstanding that, we are still in the early days of developing this new relationship, and we hope to work with the government to change the fiscal approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. McKay. There's one more speaker, I believe? Two more. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Ruth Massey. I'm the Grand Chief of the Council for Yukon First Nations, and I work for 9 self-governing First Nations within our organization. Thank you today, committee members, for the invitation to speak to you about our treaties and the challenges we have experienced to implement them over the past 20 years. Our treaties are constitutionally protected, and they were negotiated with the spirit and intent of co-governing and co-managing our lands and resources with other governments in our region. Constitutionally protected means the provisions in our treaties trump any other federal policy and legislation that affects our treaty regions. Canada, as a signatory, has the fiduciary obligation to implement the responsibilities and the provisions set out in our treaties with us. Implementation of the agreements have been our biggest challenge from day one. We have spent an incredible amount of time and money defending our treaties. These delays cause our goals to be set aside, and our number one goal is to become self-sufficient and self-reliant as First Nation governments. Self-government should be viewed as a return on investment for Canada. First Nations have contributed greatly to the Canadian economy in the past 20 years in our region. We implore you, when considering how to resolve implementation issues, to look directly to the provisions set out in our agreements. Also, the policies that government adopts and works within need to be supportive of the existing provisions set out in our treaties. Government mandates have to be based on the commitments the Prime Minister stated publicly recently. Implementing our treaties together puts us on the path to reconciliation. And I'm joined today with one of my chiefs, Chief Eric Fairclough, who will continue with this. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for allowing us to be in front of you and saying a few words. My First Nations is about 700, and we're a central part of the Yukon. We've signed off our final agreement in 1997 and have been working to implement it ever since then. The Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, said he wanted to promote reconciliation and he wanted to make it a reality. Refer back to the letter to Minister Bennett. We believe that this committee can play a key role in the promotion of reconciliation. Indian Affairs, or INAC, their focus has been on Indian Act bans. The department and committee need to place a higher priority on modern treaties and self-government. And quickly, I know we're running a bit behind time here. Yukon First Nations, we've signed off on the umbrella final agreement, and 11 of us have final agreements out of the 26 that are in Canada right now. So we do play a major role, and we do contribute. We are major contributors to the economic situation in the Yukon. We're partners with the Yukon government on resource management, co-management of lands. Our final agreements have led to a new way of governing, and I've always said this to people. Our final agreements have changed the way in which all parties, territorial, federal, and Yukon, govern forever. That change is there. We're not an Indian Act ban. We're not a municipality. We are an order of government with equal powers to the provinces and territories. Yukon First Nations, as it was said, sacrificed an enormous amount to reach these agreements, 30 years of negotiations, millions of dollars to negotiate these, in which we paid back, and 93% of our traditional territory. Over the last 20 years, Canada has done nothing to change its internal policies and practices to make them consistent with the treaties, and more often than not, when policies does change, it takes us backwards instead of forward. The proposed fiscal approach is an example of this. Its implementation will drag us back into the Indian Act world. The fiscal approach contradicts and violates our final agreements in several fundamental ways. Canada cannot implement its fiscal approach and meet the modern treaty agreement commitments under self-governing Yukon First Nation. For example, it does not provide us with the ability to negotiate or reconcile. The modern treaties commit the parties to negotiate an agreement every 5 years in the Yukon. This new fiscal approach dictates that Canada exclusively provides the transfer solutions. That's not right. And if we follow that, Yukon First Nations follow that, Canada follows that approach, we all would be breaching the agreements that we've signed together. The land claims agreements are based on objectives that fiscal transfer will enable the self-governing Yukon First Nations to provide programs and services comparable to those prevailing in the Yukon. The fiscal approach is based on Indian Act band funding. The land claims agreement recognizes that self-governing Yukon First Nations have thousands of square miles of settlement land, co-management of our traditional territories, and responsibility for citizens throughout the territory. Important to note. The fiscal approach is based on Indian ban on reserve responsibilities. Big difference there. The fiscal approach is unacceptable. It's a step backwards for self-governing Yukon First Nations. Its implementation will violate the commitments of the Yukon First Nation final agreements rather than promoting reconciliation. It's not what the Prime Minister said, and it's not what the INAC Minister said either, according to their own words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fairclough.
Mr. Chair, before we stop, just one final
Please.
example so you'll get crystal clear picture. On December 2010, one staff member from the Department of Fisheries and Ocean, a staff member, banned 17 communities in Nunavut from hunting narwhals. And now the Land Claims Coalition, our agreements are constitutional in nature. They are not agreements with Indigenous and Northern Affairs. They are with the whole of government approach, and we were able to work with Minister Vilcor about a cabinet directive. It's not what we wanted, but it's a first step forward. It's to prevent the administration of government from breaching our constitutional agreements. Right now, we are at the mercy of the federal government administration. We need your help. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm pleased to tell you that we've got committee members who are eager to ask questions of you and to learn from you. And to keep things moving, we've developed a little bit of a speaking order. So I'm just going to turn now to that speaking order. And I'll let you know that we've had to adjust the times, but we've done it equitably for everyone. So we're going to be into 3-minute questions in this round. And Michael McLeod, please.
First of all, thank you for coming, and thank you for coming on relatively short notice, and I appreciate hearing from you. I spent my whole life waiting for land claims to be settled in the area that I live, and I was hoping once that's settled, we're going to see us drift into a happy future. But it doesn't sound like that's the case. We heard from the AFN the other day, and they talked about how our policies were outdated, and the government needs to review some of the policies like comprehensive claim policy and others. I watched Delaunay, for example, negotiate self-government. One community cost $70 million to negotiate. It took over 20 years, a very slow process. And the treaties were supposed to renew the agreements, and they're supposed to take the uncertainty of how to deal with land and self-government and services and the fiscal compensation that was all included in the agreement. But it doesn't sound like the government's eager or has been eager during your time to move forward. I got several questions. I got 3 questions. I'll just ask them, and you can answer them as you see fit. First of all, how does the existing fiscal policy impact your ability for implementation? And my second question is, what recommendations would you like to make to this committee? And my third question is, do you feel like you're working in a nation-to-nation environment now with this situation? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for that question. A lot of us signed these agreements to get out of the Indian Act, but our experiences has been that Indian Act-based funding premises are the key for the administration of government. And not to say to the failed policies of the past, fiscal relationship cannot be built upon this fundamentally flawed foundation, because a lot of us signed these treaties to ensure that we would start a new foundation that recognized the Indian band funding cannot be the starting relationship, just like they did under the Indian Act. So the machinery of government is very deep-rooted, and it has to change and shift so that the implementation of this constitutional agreement can have direct access either through the cabinet directive or to the Privy Council, and have an independent body that can assess how the implementation of these agreements are going, such as the Auditor General's report. That's what Canada needs to monitor how the implementation of these agreements are going, where they are at, and how to reach the objectives. And that currently does not exist in the machinery of government.
Can I answer some of that question that you asked, and how the existing fiscal policy impacts the implementation? I got a few points, and I'll just read them out because of time here. First of all, the previous government basically adopted this policy 2 weeks before the writ was dropped without consultation with our members. That's important to note. We cannot implement this policy without breaching our agreements. It conflicts with existing terms of our agreements, which requires that our fiscal renewal must be negotiated. And it's stated clearly in our final agreements in the Yukon that the Government of Canada shall negotiate. But the policy uses a formula-based approach that is grounded in the Indian Act. Modern treaties were signed in order to move forward and away from the Indian Act, and our new fiscal policy brings us full circle back to what we have spent decades working on to get free from. It's important to note that too. The fiscal approach undermines the foundation of modern treaties. It is a key tool that government uses to reconcile the honor of the Crown for our people. And if Canada wants to change the treaty bargains, then you need to do this through the front door, not by determining our agreements through the backdoor policies like this. It's very important. And I just want to add that the new fiscal policy is developed for status Indians under the Indian Act. Biggest one to recognize here that our agreements, modern treaties, have done away with the Indian Act. So what is it doing here in the first place? The other is that it recognizes Indians under the Indian Act on settlement land, on reserve land. And we provide services throughout our territory and Canada to our citizens. So we cannot be lumped in a small group like that. It tremendously would reduce the funding that's available to us. Answer that part.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Chair. I know that we're a new committee, but you know, certainly in my past, when we've created sort of standing orders and speaking timeframes and lists, you know, typically if we're going to change the timeframe, it's by consensus within the committee, and you know, obviously there's times where you don't get through your whole speaking order, but so I just want to you know, query that process for this particular committee, because it's not in line with what I've dealt with in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, and my apologies to our guests that you have to see us work through our processes. It certainly wasn't my intention. What we're going to do, because we have a compressed timeline today, is we are going to move on to the first part of the speaking order, thusly. Ms. McLeod will have 7 minutes, Mr. Angus will have 7 minutes, and Mr. Rusnak will have 7 minutes, and that's the best, I think, most equitable thing we can do given the time and the situation that we're under. So if there's agreement, can we proceed? Ms. McLeod.
Thank you. And
Sorry, just, I don't want to, but if I'm looking at the time, if we have to be done by 5:30, then I would, you're such a great and nice guy, Mr. Chair. You never say when time's up. So if it's 7 minutes, you have to beat the clock at 7 minutes, otherwise it's not going to happen. So
I'll wave my arms. I'm
asking
loath
you
to
to be a little
interrupt our
meaner than you
guests.
normally are. And
Okay, I'll
Mr.
do that.
Saginash will be speaking.
Okay. Thank you. Please, Ms. McLeod.
And thank you. And in the spirit of cooperation, if I finish my questions early, I will try and be somewhat precise. First of all, I do want to congratulate all the members of the coalition. Back in the 90s, I participated. I sat at the Inchik Naquaqua Treaty table as they were working through the process, and that was 95, and they're still not at final agreement. So I can just imagine the sort of enormous energy and challenges it has been for all of you to move through this process, and I guess to some degree it's a little bit disappointing because I think it was always the dream that once we got there, we were there. So, as there's in my riding, we have the northern part of the Secwepemc are in process, and the southern area is not, but. Hopefully it's not all bad. So maybe you could share perhaps what some of the benefits have been, so that if the people from the communities I represent are hearing, and I think I would be turning turning away from the process right now. Can you maybe just share a couple of things in terms of what has been positive out of this process?
I'll share a couple of things, and I've said it in my opening remarks, that one of the things is that we're major contributors to the economy in the Yukon. The others is that we are partners with the Yukon government on co-management, different style of doing things here. And, those are a couple, if you want. And I can say that out of the final agreements, we do have the ability to create laws that could supersede the territorial or federal governments. And those are positive things that could come out of this, but you get hampered if you cannot negotiate a fiscal finance agreement with Yukon or with the Canadian government to implement your treaties properly.
And did it create some pretty good finality in terms of the resource development, shared royalties? Was that sort of comprehensively completed within your agreements?
I think for any of the resource development royalties, they are identified in our agreements. For the Council for Yukon First Nations, we have the umbrella agreement. It has established the legislative processes and boards and committees to work with both governments going forward. And we really are making great strides to educate the general public going forward, so they can also contribute to their share of our issues as well. But I see lots of benefits from our agreements. Our agreements in our region have 20 years old. We have new government structures. It's enabled us to employ a lot of our own citizens. There's better programs and services directly at the community levels. We don't have to go and ask hat in hand. We also co-manage and share programming with Yukon government. It's not always just a straight beeline. Every once in a while, we do have our difficulties working with another government for sharing. For First Nations, we've always shared. We've always cared, and we've always helped. It's not always that way coming towards us. So it's a learning experience, a lot of it. But a lot of it is public. Perception, I guess, has been positive. For us, with our agreements in the Yukon, we don't say they're First Nation agreements. They're agreements for our region. and that includes every person there. There isn't one resident in our Yukon Territory that has not benefited from our agreements going forward. They're employed, you know, it's increased the GDP in our area, our region. You know, it's brought up the population. You know, one thing I don't know whether some of the new committee members know, under self-government, we pay taxes just like every other Canadian, you know. So I know there was a Canadian perception many years ago about, oh, you're giving the First Nations all of this money. We borrowed that money from Canada, and we paid back every penny plus 6%. The Canadian government charged us 6% interest on our land claim loans over a 15-year period, everything. So it's almost like we bought our own land back again. You know, now we're working with industry that want access to our resources, right? We want to be interested in development as well, but we want responsible development. And that's what these agreements are all about. There's rules and regulations of how you play in our backyard. And industry gets it, you know. They're a little bit more positive than what Canada has been or the Yukon government. And they're respectful. That's all we ask. Like, be respectful in our yard. Because when you leave, these are our homelands and we're still here. We don't want any more messes to clean up.
Thank you. So I'll tell them not to despair. There's still some good hope out of this. Thank you.
Mr. Freckle, you had
The
your hand up there, about
benefits
20
for
seconds
Nunavut
left in this.
is in our land deal. We knew there was something, so when they found Sir John Franklin, after 200 years, we own half of that. And we get exciting vehicles because last year a vehicle came over the North Pole from Russia, and a sail ship came from Romania trying to immigrate to Canada. So we get a lot of excitement when we see these strange vehicles in the Northwest Passage. In saying that, I'll give it to the CEO. But come to Nunavut, you'll see something different, part of Canada. But I've always said, if we weren't part of Canada, we would have been a different country. The cost of living in Nunavut is very high. The structures are designed as if we're living under the regime. Canadian taxation system is designed as if we're living in the South because we're always paying taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm afraid we're well over on that question, so we're going to have to move along. And I was remiss earlier in not also welcoming our colleague from the House, MP Romeo Saganash, please, who will be asking on behalf of Charlie Angus.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Acting on behalf of the NDP, but he does act as my lawyer as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to first welcome our witnesses to this committee and especially thank them for their presentations and their contribution to this important committee. I happen to believe this is one of the most important committees on this Hill because of the impacts it has on natural resources in the economy. And you're right, Grand Chief Macy, when you say that, signing agreements with Aboriginal peoples in this country is not only good for the environment, but it's also good for the economy of this country. So I think it's a good path that we're on in signing these agreements. I first want to start with a very philosophical question, I guess. In your letter to the Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs, in the second paragraph, you talk about your group advocating for modern treaty implementation policy since 2004. And at the end of that paragraph, you mentioned that in the absence of this policy, the successful implementation of our treaties has been undermined by current federal operational practices and policies, which are inconsistent with the terms of our constitutionally protected agreements. I want to perhaps somebody from your group maybe elaborate on this point, because I think it's a fundamental one. I come from a land claims agreement area in northern Quebec with the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement, and I think this point is very fundamental because it determines the relationship between your nations and the Crown, which is a legal and constitutional relationship, as opposed to a political, policy-driven approach with the civil servants at the civil servants level. In an era of nation-to-nation relations and reconciliation, I think that's a fundamental point. So maybe one of you can elaborate on that. The second question is related to the fiscal policy. It is my understanding that the Conservatives quietly imposed, and the word imposed is important here, their new fiscal approach days before the election. And given that the Liberal commitment to nation-to-nation relationships, their commitments to treaty and Aboriginal rights, their commitment to remove issues from the courts, what has the government or the department told you on this point? And can you describe in concrete terms how this fiscal approach will impact your communities, how will it impact your budgets, the services? I believe that the terms of our treaties contain a recognition, constitutional recognition of rights, interests, and benefits. So how does this new fiscal approach will impact your communities?
I'm afraid there are just about 3.5 minutes left there, so please do your best to be crisp. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. And you're right, this is a fiscal policy being imposed. We have not accepted it because of the language in our agreement. How it's going to affect us if it goes forward, we will have no choice but to defend our agreements. And that means going back to court, because that's not what the provisions in our agreements say. Our agreements say shall negotiate, and if you impose something on us, right, that's not negotiation. And I think for what they want to do, it brings us back to being the glorified Indian Ag bands again, with a plus. You know, we're not going to be independent, self-governing First Nations trying to look after our communities and our citizens. Also in the agreements, we have the language that is signed that speaks to our citizenship. It was our citizens that voted on those agreements, and if we go back to this policy, it speaks to status Indians. Not all of our citizens are status Indians, but we are still responsible as First Nation governments to provide programs and services for the whole of our citizenship. So, for one example, my First Nation is T'wa'an Council. It is a self-governing First Nation. We have 432 citizens, I do believe. We get funding in our negotiations right now for 212. But we have to provide 100% programs and services to our citizens. Otherwise, we're discriminating against our citizens. And you have two classes of people then. You have the haves and have-nots, and that's not appropriate. And that's not, as Indigenous people, how we treat our people. We're all equal. Thank you. Eric?
Mr. Fairclough, I wanted to weigh in. There's still a minute and 10 seconds left.
All right, very quickly, one of the things we like to see is the government suspending this fiscal approach policy. We feel that if it was implemented, you violate the treaty. So when you violate the treaty, we sign them together with you. You put into question the honor of the Crown. So I think we together should be defending the Crown in this matter. Very simply put, it's not good for our final agreements. It's very different than the rest of Canada in that our agreements have been negotiated and protected in the Canadian Constitution. So these things can't be just overlooked when developing policies like this. Prime example, one example, of where we took action in the Yukon was the Environmental Assessment Act. Same thing. It went down the road to violating our final agreements. We're in a court position. The federal government is now, reconsidering and wanting to amend those 4 points that, we feel that are in violation of our agreements. I think this committee needs to examine that very carefully, work with us. We've got a lot of professional people that know our agreement inside out and help us get through this. The policy isn't working and it needs to be suspended.
Thank you for that. Before I invite the final question from Mr. Resnack, I'm afraid I have to beg your forgiveness. I must go and leave to get on an airplane, so I'm going to ask our co-chair, David Urdiga, to take over the chair to close the meeting. Thank you very much for your time today. I'm very grateful.
So I'm going to get started right away here before David's in his seat now. So first of all, Kevin, I've been in Niska-Lism's territory. I was with the BC Treaty Commission as a placement student while I was in law school at Osgoode Hall. Beautiful area. I was in Nua'ish. I stayed at the Lava Lodge, which is probably still there, a fine operation. Traveled to Gitwinsilk and Legislap. I always have problems pronouncing that. There we go. Beautiful territory, and it's unfortunate what's happening with all your agreements over the last 10 years under the former government, that they're making them extremely difficult to implement. One of the questions I wanted to ask is, within the agreements, are there any dispute resolution mechanisms that don't involve litigation, don't involve you going to the courts? Was any of the agreements? So I don't know where you want to start.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Among different coalition members, there are different provisions. Virtually all of them include something about dispute resolution. There is a range from the Inuvialuit Agreement, for example, that includes the possibility of binding arbitration, through a series of other agreements. Far and away the most common is arbitration only if both parties consent, and as President Tatungi indicated, the federal government was loath to ever consent to arbitration. Part of the NTI's settlement with the government includes amendments to the agreement to enable a unilateral demand for arbitration in specified circumstances, all the way through to the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement, which includes the Cree-Naskapi Commission as a very effective, albeit non-coercive or non-binding dispute resolution body. So the short answer to your question, yes, they have a variety of provisions for mediation, discussion, negotiation, rarely binding arbitration, and that unfortunately is one of the reasons so many of disputes have ended up in litigation, when one would think that litigation should be the last resort.
I don't know how much time I have, Mr. Chair, but another question I wanted to ask was, did the coalition, you did touch on the subject of an independent commission, a recommendation for what that commission would look like, and what exactly that commission would have the power to do. Has the coalition contemplated that? And if you haven't, can you do that and provide that to this committee?
Yeah, that has been fleshed out in a certain amount of detail in documents that have been developed over the years, including what we provided to the Senate Standing Committee back in 2007. We can most certainly provide material on that to the committee for your careful review and study.
And like a lot of things that have been done in the past, the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples and so many other studies that have been done by Parliament, the Senate, we don't seem to learn from those lessons, right? A lot of hard work went into a lot of those documents, and oftentimes it's just going and brushing them off and sitting down with groups like yourselves and coming up with solutions that work today. It's frustrating to see that you guys came up with these agreements, and over many years and over the last 10 years that they've been essentially stifled, and it really breaks that that trust going forward with, it's supposed to be a partnership, right? And when I was in Niska territory, it was there was a level of excitement after the agreement was beginning to be implemented, and it's sad to hear that over the last 10 years this has happened under that agreement. So I don't know, any comment, final comment on what can be done and what you see as we go forward?
Very quickly, I'll let Kevin answer this too, but I think what you can do is study our implementation of our final agreements. This committee should be doing that. Surprisingly enough, when we go and lobby, talk with different MPs and different parties, not many people know about what is in the final agreements. There's only 26 of them, 28 maybe, in Canada. And it seemed like the focus of the federal government is always over to, Indian Act bans and never on the proper implementation of our final agreements. One thing we all agree on, I think even Canada and the rest of First Nations, is that we want to move forward. We have these agreements to do that. I believe Canada would like to see First Nations actually negotiate a final agreement, get on the road to self-sufficiency. This new fiscal policy takes us backwards. We shouldn't go there. Like you said, let's learn from our mistakes.
I'm probably out of time.
You have 1 minute left, so.
Oh, I have 1 minute left.
Well, actually, a little longer than a minute and a half.
You want to?
Thank you. In support of my colleague from the coalition, I want to make it very clear to the committee. We're not here to tell you that coalition members regret signing their treaties. That's not what we're saying. Not one coalition member here regrets signing their treaties. Make that clear. I want to make that clear. What we're here to tell you is that those treaties are sacred. They represent a hard-fought compromise. And I say that nobody, with all due respect, nobody compromised more than the Aboriginal signatories to those treaties. So, of course, we have a lot invested in them, and we want to see them work, not only for our Aboriginal groups and governments, but indeed all of Canada. Let's be perfectly clear here. What our treaties call for is institutional change. That's what we're asking for here. Notwithstanding the political goodwill from whichever government happens to be in power. Without that significant institutional change, nothing will change. And the sad reality is that our treaties will not be able to maximize their potential value.
Okay, thank you very much. Time has run out, and on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank the coalition members for being here today. It was very informative, and really appreciate the effort you guys made to be here today. And hopefully, in the future, our paths will cross once again. I wish the next meeting's on March 8th, so put that on your calendars, and the committee is adjourned.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, David,
Yes.
I would like to thank you and the committee. I traveled 3 days, $6,000, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.